Good afternoon to all of you on the East Coast, and good morning to those on the West Coast and Central Time Zone. Those who are watching from Israel, from Europe, we want to wish everyone a good evening. Today, we're blessed to have a special guest, someone that those of us in the FIDF community are very well familiar with. And you know, in the old days, before there was such a thing as a cell phone, when you had one dime, who would you call? When you had one quarter, who would you call? And that person to all of us is Noya Govrin. Who is Noya Govrin? She oversees for Nefesh B'Nefesh the system of the Lone Soldier Program. We at FIDF, we have the blessing of funding this. This is something, of course, that is the wishes and desires of the Army and the Ministry of Defense. And Noya oversees not just the 750 American lone soldiers, but literally 3,300 lone soldiers from 68 different countries. They speak many different languages, come from many different cultures. They come to Israel for many different reasons. But one challenge that they have is, number one, many of them are not native to the language, native to the land. And the challenges of whether it's getting a driver's license, taking care of laundry when they're off base, basic challenges that someone who has a mother, has a father, has a family system to take care of, it's not that simple when it comes to being a lone soldier. Now you compound that by being a soldier in a war that's lasted 9 months. You can imagine the challenges that Noya deals with each and every day. Not to mention Noya and her husband and their family, they have their own challenge. Their son, who's a gifted attorney, a former gifted member of elite forces, he himself was a victim of a Hezbollah attack on the north. And the reality is, please God, he should continue to have a refuah shlema, he should continue to have a complete speedy recovery. But what Noya has lived through and what she's going to describe and articulate over the time of the last 9 months of this war is really something that gives us an insight into what the soldiers go through and what all of Israel goes through. Noya, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening. And thank you for your warm words and for inviting me to join this briefing. And really, for me to be here today is a huge, huge privilege. I want to also thank the FIDF really for everything you've been doing for so many years, and especially now during the war. I know how you make the difference for the soldier, for the IDF, and for the state of Israel. So not to mention the historic partnership that we have for the past 12 years, and you are giving us the muscle and the ability to help our lone soldier. So where to start? So first of all, I want to take everyone, our audience, about what does it mean to be a Chayal Boded, okay? To be a lone soldier, it means to leave behind family, friends, colleague, everything that is known for you for many, many years, and make a choice to join the IDF, make a choice to come to Israel, and to pick up a different challenges, struggle, and they're doing it because they have the love for Israel. They feel responsibility to Israel, and they're very naive. They don't always understand what does it mean to join the IDF. They grew up in the US to Zionist parents. I always say that behind every parent, every soldier, there is a parents who support him. But coming to Israel, not knowing the language, missing your family, having to deal with the IDF new structure and bureaucracy, it's very, very challenging, not to mention the fact that he comes home and has to do all his laundry and shopping and struggle with, like you said, issuing your driver license and everything. When October 7 happened, there is a it was a different contract. It was something different between what you knew and your experience in the IDF. All of a sudden, everything becomes more intense, more challenging. It's month over month that you don't see your family, that you don't have contact with your family, that you can call them every other day or every week just to get this, family support. And the fact that they were there, they knew what they're doing. They wanted to stand by Israel, and they recognized the importance of them making Aliyah and joining the IDF. So it was a whole different experience for most of our lone soldiers. And we at the lone soldier program, we understood that the event is very, very different from usual time. Yes, joining the IDF and being a Chayal Boded is a challenge, but being a Chayal Boded in wartime is even more hard. Again, everyone has his own experience, and some people come with more resilience and more skills and Hebrew and family here or there. But definitely the war has changed many, many things. And because we knew it, we had adjusted our services to better help the soldier and their families. And I can go over many, many services that we changed to support our soldier, from everything that has to do with the hotline 24/7, not only for the soldier, but also for the parents. Operation Hug, that we had a program together, bringing a parent of a combat soldier to Israel from all over the world, over 1,000 parents who came to Israel, and just for one hug, just to be there with their Chayal and support him during that time. Some of them were only able to see their Chayal for the soldier for 1 hour, 2 hours, but still it was worth to everyone, and it meant a lot. We had specialists, mental health specialists that we recruited to help anyone who is in stress and needs some extra help. We had a logistics center. So if a Chayal called us and said, listen, I do not have this and this, or I need transportation to go to somewhere, we were able to provide this. We escorted injured soldiers, and not to mention families who lost their Chayalim. I come to work every day with such a feeling of privilege, and they're an inspiration for me. And I did what I did, and I never thought that the fact that I'm visiting lone soldier injured, one day as a mom, I will have to face that challenge of getting this phone call from my husband saying to me, Noya, I'm coming to pick you up. Tomer was injured in the north, and my son doesn't respond, and the army doesn't call me. A few hours in the car to the intensive care in Nahariya. He was badly hurt in his chest, and thank God, because we have those medical corps, an amazing soldier, his life was saved. The good thing is he's after the recovery, he's still working hard on recovery, but he will be okay. But this emotion of, yes, that's what I have been doing since October 7, and all of a sudden it hit my personal life. That was a challenge. It definitely gives me a different perspective. And I understood how I was by my son and what the parents do feel about this, and how challenging it is to be a Chayal Boded not having the family. And from everything, we are really adjusting from day to day. We we do see a need, we come with a solution. And that's what we do. We have so many other services and example of, that during the war, we were able to make the difference and the change. And I can go on and on to tell you other services we were able to give.
So I'd like to, if it's possible, I'd like to ask you, and just for those who are participating, you have to understand, Noya probably knows and has on speed dial every social worker in the Army, dealing with the 3,300 different lone soldiers, and they're in multiple divisions of the Army. When we think of the Army, we think of the Air Force, we think of intelligence, we think of the ground forces and Navy, but there are many, many other components to the Army, and therefore there are going to be many lone soldiers in those various components. And the beauty of one of the many, many beautiful things about the IDF is they embed social workers in each and every unit so that the soldiers, to the best of their ability, are being taken care of by the Army. And Noya has access and has a relationship with those social workers. And in that sense, when a parent calls from somewhere across the world, Noya and her team, and she has a wonderful team of people that care, that treat these young men and young women like their own children. Describe to us, if it's possible, maybe take one or two stories or more, of a call you received, of a challenge. I mean, I can tell you that I know personally, working with you, my own daughter's roommate who was killed, Rosie Lubin, and dealing, her parents, a wonderful family from Atlanta, from Dunwoody. That's the worst of all tragedies. But there are many other cases, large like that and small, where, in the middle of the night, you're called, you and your team are reaching out and working with the Army, with the families for the needs of the soldiers. If you could share some stories.
Yes. So obviously I have so many stories of soldier calling us, even if it was for the 24/7 hotline, or parents calling us on the hotline. And there is one of the stories that I remember. I'm taking also that line, and because this is how I get to feel the soldier as well, and not only my team who has been lone soldier. And I remember one soldier who called me, I think it was 12 a.m. in the midnight. And he just came back from the US. Okay, he had his 1 month vacation that the FIDF pays for the ticket in conjunction with the IDF. And he had really he had a very good time at home. He missed them very much. He came back. He was serving in the engineer combat unit, and he was jet lagged. He needed just 1 day to be at home, to get his energy back, to have his errand day. And he said to me, listen, my commander doesn't understand. He wants me to go back. That's it. And I said to him, listen, you go to sleep. I deal with this in the morning. And that's what happened. I called his commander, and I was able to explain to the commander, listen, give him another 24 hours. You'll get a better soldier, and he will be able to come back in a day and in full energy and motivation. I can share with you another example of really few days ago, of a soldier who he was in Gaza in the paratrooper the whole time. His commander came and told him, listen, you can fly for 1 month home. And then he realized that he doesn't have a valid US passport. So it was Thursday afternoon. We pick up the phone, and because we have connection with the US Embassy, I asked them if he could come the next morning on Friday, 8 a.m., if he could come and get his US passport. And that's what happened. He went in at 8 a.m., and by 2 p.m., he got his passport. By Saturday night, he was already at home he was flying to see his parents. And because we work very closely with the IDF, we are able really to navigate any issue that the soldier has with the IDF. Even for Israeli, joining the IDF is a challenge, but they know that this is their destiny. They know from childhood, okay, when I get to the age of 18, I'm joining the IDF. That's not the case for a soldier, okay, a Chayal Boded. It's something that he probably has thought about. He's growing in a Zionist home, and then at some point he takes the decision to join the IDF and make make Aliyah. I have parents all the time calling us. Sometimes they do feel that their soldier is not okay, that they're having a stressful time, that they cannot communicate, or that their commander is giving them hard time. And our job is really to communicate to the commander, to the welfare team, and if we need to offer also mental health assistance, that's what we will do. So we can combine everyone in that anything has to do with what the soldier needed. During the wartime, we had many webinars designated for parents. And I want to touch about also what we are doing together for the parents. For a parent to be outside of Israel is it's something that brings up fear, days of worries, not hearing from their son, not being able to be there for them. And we understood that for a parent, what we need to give is information. We need to give them direct lines to their commander. We need to give them webinar with all kinds of subjects. And that's what we did, and the hotline. So we are communicating with the parents. We are sending them information. We're creating every Sunday a Zoom webinar with a commander of a unit. And that way the parents can understand who is the commander, what's their schedule, what's the mission of where they're serving their children, and on. By doing this, we're giving some peace of mind to the parents.
What we're dealing with today is really uncharted territory, because in the history of Israel, that kind of an extended war, 9 months like this, first of all, it never happened. And it's not that there isn't the potential for a war, but I think the context of a parent and of a young man or a young woman who joins the army, I just don't think their context was what it is today. So when the war broke out, when no one was anticipating this, no one was expecting this, I think it caught many of the parents, and it caught many of the soldiers. It took them into a place they never imagined that they could be. And when you deal with that situation, and you deal with the stress, they cannot communicate with their kids because you don't have cell phones in Gaza.
No.
And they're in the middle of trying to win a war. They're in the middle of trying to free hostages. They're in the middle of dealing with some of the most brutal urban combat in the history of not only the history of war, the history of humanity. And it's uncharted territories. And you've got a lot of people that are unsettled, a lot of people that this will shake and rattle their whole existence, not just during the war, but after the war as well.
Absolutely.
It must have been incredibly challenging for you, for your team, and I'm sure you're dealing with, and in many cases, you're dealing with people you can't give them solid answers. If there's no way to communicate with the there's no way to get an answer for what the parents are asking.
So, first of all, you're right. We always tell to the parents that we are not the IDF, okay? And we can just give the support, the information. We can contact the IDF, and that we do not have a solution for every issue, because we have to understand those soldiers are in the middle of a battle. They're in Gaza. Even the social worker of the IDF do not have contact with them. But we do tell them that we are here for them and give them the information that we do have, how things are working, how the IDF operates, because we have to understand that for a lot of the parents, it's not only being far away, which is an issue, it's also not understanding the mentality or not experiencing themselves IDF service. So they do not understand why they do not answer the phone. They do not know their rights and benefits, and they don't understand sometimes the language that their children are speaking now. Not even to mention the timeline or how does it work. For their perspective, if my son is not feeling well, he needs to go right now to the doctor. But in the IDF, it doesn't work always like that. So what we are trying to do is really to translate the IDF into a language that the parents can understand and letting them know, listen, we are here for you. I'm relating right now to WhatsApp that I just got like really 10 minutes ago. We have an amazing lone soldier who got injured in the war since November. He was at the Okets. I think you know him. He is from Okets. And
Okets is the famous K9 unit, which
exactly.
that unit has saved hundreds of lives at least as a function of the role the dogs have played. Sorry.
Exactly. And his parents are here since November. They decided they want to stay in Israel and they needed help with getting health insurance and they needed help with getting their rights and benefits as new alim. And really now, just today, I was able within maybe 48 hours to have everything resolved from the moment they decided they want to stay in Israel because he has a long way of rehabilitation. So this is what we do. We know the system, we know the government offices, we know the IDF, and we're trying to give so many solutions and so many direction to the parents so they know they have a place to turn to, not only the soldier, for them and for the parents.
Since the beginning of the war, relative to, and I believe, Noya, how many years have you been running the Lone Soldier program?
So I ran the Lone Soldier program for the past 12 years. And I worked for Nefesh B'Nefesh for the past 20 years. I was the director of advocacy. And then once the opportunity opened with your partnership, I thought this is a dream life job, not only working with those young people, they are really an inspiration for all of us. There is no one day that I come to work which looks the same, and there is no one day that I come to work and I meet those young people that I can't stop say thank you to them for their service.
In the 12 years that you've been running it, the Aliyah rate, the number of young men and young women, whether it's America, other parts of the world, that want to join the army, what are the numbers looking like now? And obviously, it's not a question we asked you in advance. I don't mean specific. Right. No, are the numbers going up? Are they the same? Are you seeing an increase?
So first of all, we do. So definitely October 7th changed things. And we do see a huge growth in the interest of coming to Israel and joining the IDF. We see by the amount of emails we get, phone calls from young people who understand that, they have to come, they have to join the IDF. And we do see also a raise in the number of young people who doesn't have to serve in the IDF, who insist to volunteer. So if I'm 22 and above, I do not have an army service requirement. And those young people who are coming with a degree say, listen, we want to come, help us join the IDF. We want to contribute. We're engineer, we are lawyer, we study different undergraduate degrees, and we feel that our destiny is with the state of Israel. We want to be there. And we do see a grow in the number of young people who wants to come and be in Israel. And it's very remarkable.
If you could share with us, not necessarily the challenges of an American lone soldier, talk to us some of the lone soldiers, Russia, the Ukraine, a lone soldier coming from South America. You know, something that we would not necessarily be sensitive to or aware of.
Okay, so definitely there is a different, they're coming from a different culture. I think one of the main differences when you come from the US, let's say, so we had previous stays in Israel. You came maybe for a gap year. You came here for your bar mitzvah. You had different experience in Israel. When it comes to other countries, not to mention France, because they do come quite a lot, but when you come to Russia and Ukraine, which is definitely you coming from a war to war, they coming from a place where they run away, their family has been threatened, maybe their father has been recruited to the IDF, and all of a sudden they come to a country who is in a war, and that brings more challenges. Those young people are dealing with more language barrier, okay, because they do not have the Hebrew beforehand. They do not know the mentality. Like their first experience is coming to Israel, and in a year from that coming to Israel, some of them will join the IDF. Of course, there is those who comes through Na'aleh program. It's Noar Ole Lifnei Horim, and spend here their high school and then join the IDF. But definitely they come with different values and they're less familiar with Israel and the situation, which bring more challenging in adjusting, in understanding the IDF military. And that's why we also hired staff from different places. We have a Russian-speaking team, we have a French-speaking, we have South American team that they speak the language and they can help those soldiers in their own language understand the IDF system and prepare to them. Some of them also come with very, very high expectation. They think that they all will go to Matkal, or they will be in commando unit. And when they arrive and they do all the exam and all the process to becoming a soldier, they understand that not necessarily they will get what they want. So there is the dream and the reality. And I think our job is not only to help them join the IDF, but also to give them very, very realistic expectation about what is the IDF, where they can go to, and a lot of information about the different options. Because we don't want them to come and have high expectation and then understand they cannot get it because they don't have the language, because they don't have the skills, because they're not in a physical shape. And that's one of the major things that we are focusing on, giving them realistic expectation, knowing the sky is the limit. For me, and I always say to the Chayalim, You know, the fact that you didn't grow up in Israel, that you don't have the language, you don't know the mentality, doesn't mean you will not you will not become a commander. Go to commander, educate other Israeli soldier, and the sky is the limit for you. And it's very interesting to see, because when they come to Israel, they're Olim Chadashim from different countries. Once they join the IDF and they're in the same unit, this is the moment that they feel that they're Israeli, and that a soldier from South America or Russia is exactly like me. He has the same challenges, he has the same issue that I have, and they become Israeli that moment when they are in the same unit and doing the same mission. Because for a commander, it doesn't matter where you came from. You're a soldier, point. Israeli, Olech Hadash, you have to do your mission. You have to do your duties. So I think that's a breaking point in the way their perception of joining the IDF and become Israeli.
So you mentioned the commanders, the officers. If it's possible, to share this with us. Look, a commander, an Israeli officer who's lived in Israel's whole life, doesn't necessarily know the challenges. He can sympathize, but he can't necessarily empathize, or she can't empathize with this young woman or young man from the Ukraine, or for that matter, a young man or young woman from Phoenix, Arizona, or from Sacramento, California. And I know part of your job and part of your team's job is to translate America into the IDF, not just the IDF to American parents, but America to the IDF, the Ukraine to the IDF. If you can share with us some stories, obviously without names, of some of those challenges.
Yes.
Sensitize the officers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, as part of the programming, we are going to commander course. Okay, we, the lone soldier, go to commander course, and our goal is really to bring to those commander what are the challenges that lone soldier are facing. I want them to know the emotional, the economic, the housing challenges, every challenge that the lone soldier has. I want them to know. And definitely my job and my team job is to explain to the commander what the Chayal Boded or the lone soldier is going through, and give him the decision to decide. I'd always tell them, this is your decision, okay, at the end of the day. But just understand what the Chayal Boded is going through. I have an example from the last 3 weeks of a soldier who had a very, very hard time, and he was panicked. He was panicked, and his commander told him, listen, you're getting Shabbat. You're not getting out Shabbat. And he called us again to the hotline, and he sounded very bad. He sounded bad. He said, I haven't been at home for the past 3 weeks. And for me, closing another Shabbat is, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I called the commander and I said to him, listen, he is having a hard time. And I understand there is army needs. And I understand that there is army rules and regulation. But I want you to look at it differently. I want you maybe to push the punishment. I want you to give him some times off so he can come, get some time home with his family that he has in Israel, and then discuss with him. And after hearing that from us, that's what he did. He said, okay, Roy, you're going home for Shabbat. We're speaking on Sunday. And that's what happened. But for that Chayal, it meant the whole world. And I feel that my job and my team job is also to be some kind of educator for the commander, and to give them the whole picture of what a Chayal Boded is going for. And even if his parents are coming to Israel, to make sure that he gets all his rights and benefits and everything that he deserves as a Chayal Boded. I have to say that most of the commanders are amazing. They understand, they want to help, they believe in the Chayal Boded, they want to create a good experience for the soldier, because they understand and we understand that a good experience of IDF means that the soldier will stay in Israel, and that's what we want to. That's what we want to see. We want to see a good transition from Aliyah to IDF service, and we want them to stay in Israel. We want them to proceed to higher education. We want them to have families here in Israel, and we want them to stay. And that's a goal. And also the transition from IDF to the whole world of released soldier is also a very, very challenging stage. Sometimes we call it second Aliyah, because all of a sudden you had a commander, you knew where you're living, you're getting your rights and benefits, and then there is a whole gap of life. Where do I proceed? Where do I choose what to study? Where do I work? And also in that area, we're giving a whole area of services for those Chaylim.
Your job, obviously, whether it's what's affected your family with your son, but what you've been living through for the last 9 months, and looking into the future as there's more and more young men and young women who come, who make Aliyah, who join the army. And I can just tell you in terms of our own family, remember when we met with Nefesh B'Nefesh, we didn't know that much in terms of the Aliyah process. And they said to our daughter in front of us, do you want to go there and be an American, or do you want to go there and become an Israeli? If you want to move to Israel and become an Israeli, Israelis first either do Sherut Leumi, national service, or they go to the army. Then after they go to the army, they go to university. Americans do it the opposite. But you'll always be an American. Do you want to live in Israel and become an Israeli? And like that was an aha moment for us. The lights went on. Little things like that we would have no clue of, as Americans. It's something so simple to an Israeli that wasn't so simple to us. And you're now the surrogate parents, literally, of not just hundreds, but of thousands of young men and young women that are coming from all parts of the earth, coming from all different reasons. Now your job is becoming more and more challenging and more difficult as the numbers grow. On the one hand, it's a beautiful thing that you have people returning to Israel, becoming part of the dream of Israel. On the other hand, it's not easy for you and for your staff. And we can't thank you enough. We write the check. That's the easy part. We raise money here in America. The most incredibly challenging part is you who live 24/7. The hotline is just one example of the 24-hour services you're providing these young men and young women. But on the other hand,
it's really a blessing to be serving those young people.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, on the other hand, you're building the future of Israel. Because of what you're doing, thousands of young men and young women will turn into thousands of parents, will turn into thousands of professionals, will turn into the future of the Jewish nation, of the Israeli nation. And we can't thank you enough for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Steve. And we are ready for everyone, every soldier and his family to come to Israel. We know how to help them, how to support them, how to assist them. And we will continue to be for them because they're really an inspiration. They teach me as an Israeli every day what is Zionism. They are the new pioneer. They open my eyes every day with the amount of the love to Israel and dedication to Israel. And you know what? What surprised me, that they know exactly what they're doing and why they want to be here. And I can't really, thank them enough. And thank you to you for the FIDF for really, partnering with us and allowing us to give all this area of support and tools and whatever they need. We're here, so they feel less alone.
To anyone who would like to help us support, if you go to FIDF.org, and you push the lone soldier component on, you have an opportunity to give, but you can specifically give for the lone soldier programming. And you see, you just get a little taste, a little flavor when you speak to Noya. Noya and her team, just of angels that look after these young men and young women. Noya, we want to wish your son a continued refuah shalema. We want to wish your extended family really a great future. And the words thank you are very cheap. We can't thank you enough for what you're doing for these young men and young women, whether they're coming from the United States or from 68 different countries across the globe. We can't thank you enough for what you're doing for them.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. I'm really privileged. Thank you.
Thank you.